We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
And thank you for being here. When we get to the reading, one of the lines in that reading that I have been fully immersed in says that the audience creates the experience, something like that, that it's truth that is speaking through us, not through me. And so I'm just so grateful for your presence. There's chills. And with that, thank you. Thank you, Sana. Next on the agenda is the reading of our purpose and our core values. I am inspired to begin with what is awakening together. I'm going to take an extra couple of seconds to read a little bit more from the page of our purpose and values. Awakening together is a universal assembly of peers dedicated to recognizing and embracing universal wisdom regardless of the form in which it appears. We are also dedicated to recognizing the ways we deny universal wisdom by adopting personal beliefs and biases. We want to recognize these limitations so we can free ourselves from them and open to the continuous flow of universal wisdom. Our purpose. We are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols. We seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The core value that has been chosen for today's gathering is core value number 3. And it reads, we accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. Next, we move to the announcement. Before I play this, or I have Sina play this first song, well, I had no conscious memory of this song until a friend in the dyads looked at me maybe could have been Thursday morning. And she said, I want to sing you a song. Now, this is a beautiful woman who has a Polish background and lives in Germany. And she sang, without any background, this song from James Taylor. And I cried, and then I added it as our first song today. I could also tell you as we play it, that's how this entire hour is going to go. I don't even remember the first time I led a gathering now. I know it's only been a couple years I've been in Awakening Together, but literally in this moment right now, linear time is not making sense to me. I do remember that there is this beautiful, gentle, kind presence in me. And the first time I led a gathering, weeks before, I was given stories to share and told how the homily was going to go. And then the next time and the time after that, I was given assignments and I knew what was going to happen. Today, I thought I knew the reading and then it was changed. I thought I knew the reader and then I woke up one day and was told of another reader. Every time I started to think about the stories, the teachings, the sharing, up until right this moment, I started to feel physically ill. And I've learned now that that meant to simply stop, to recognize that something else is directing what is going to occur here today. And so as Son is about to play this song, and I'm just inviting us all to be in that space of just being here, being now, and allowing the here and the now to direct and enable everything that is occurring. Sign up. According to my outline here, I wrote prayer. Prayer is next. And my prayer is just this. My prayer is that I hand it all over. I pray for surrender. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my purpose is for this moment, this sense that what I am is different than you. But I trust in the divine. I trust in the love. I trust in whatever it is that's directing. I pray that I am empty. I pray that I am open. I pray that truth is able to use us all right here, right now, for whatever purpose truth has. One of the ways this reading that I didn't know we were going to read today is working in me, is understanding that there is no individual personal self that has any control over any of what's happening. And when I look back over what I believe has occurred over the past decades of this life, I recognize that none of what happened in my world, I had any real control over. And I don't really have any control over what's about to happen. I can tell you that this reading is a transcript from a talk given by David Hawkins. I didn't know about the talk until I showed up here in the sanctuary and Anne and played it. And I wasn't even really paying attention. I was working and doing all sorts of things, but I found myself asking her for the link. And I discovered that I was playing this video over and over and over again. And it was changing me. And there is a line very early in the transcript that literally said, just hearing these words are going to change you, going to transform you. So there's really nothing you need to do. And the invitation as you sit with this transcript is to not attempt to figure anything out. I can tell you that I had intentions from up here for a different reading, and it wasn't working. Every time I sat down to find the excerpt from who I knew I wanted to share, it was blocked. And then I simply woke up one day this week and knew that this was going to be the transcript. And then in working with pulling a YouTube transcript and making sure all the words sort of made sense, I felt it changing me. I felt the mind resisting. I felt that there were times where I literally didn't understand the word, and other times working with these words that I just cried like a baby. And then I also knew who my reader was going to be. And then I didn't even see the part of the instructions for today that said, please do not ask a minister to read. But Jacqueline said, let's trust the guidance. And so to say that I am grateful, Shawna, that you agreed to be the reader is an understatement. And my invitation to you is to let go of attempting to understand any of these words. If you want the transcript, we can get it for you. If you want to work with it later, we could get you the link to the video. We can get you the transcript. But for right now, the invitation simply is to allow whatever it is that's directing this experience to work on you. So, Shawna, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyndi. I'm honored to have this opportunity to read Dr. David Hawkins' words. There's only a few things you really need to know. There's only a couple of things. If you know just a few things, very well, that's all you need. To merely hear them already begins the process. Just before the world disappears altogether, you notice that everything is happening spontaneously. The most important thing to know is that everything that's happening in and of its own, nothing is being caused by anything. All phenomena are the automatic consequence of the field. The field is one of infinite, invisible, omnipotent, I don't know how to say that, omnipotent power, all-encompassing, like a giant electromagnetic field, no beginning, no ending, either spatially or in time, forever and always present. The field is infinitely powerful. The human mind cannot conceive of the infinite except as a concept. Its presence is exquisitely gentle and exquisitely powerful. The field is so powerful that potentiality is activated by the field to become an actuality. All things happen by virtue of the infinite power of the field. What the world considers evolution is the witnessing of creation, which is continuous. The unmanifest, beyond linear, becomes manifest by divine providence as the totality of creation, and this happens effortlessly. Within the field, then, potentiality is actualized by intention. Therefore, each thing comes forth, manifesting its karmic inheritance. You might say its karma is its innate potential. And when conditions are appropriate, then the potentiality becomes an actuality in and of itself. In and of itself. As a consequence of the infinite power of the field. The field is so powerful that if you continuously hold the thought, it will become happening. Otherwise, no one will become enlightened. Therefore, one's intention is all powerful. See, the ego is very clever, and as the potentiality begins to manifest, it takes credit for it. A person goes and takes a pair of scissors and cuts the stem to an apple, and he thinks he made the apple drop to the ground. That's how all things are happening, like gravity. There is no inner, separate, personal self making anything happen. To know the one thing, all is happening in and of its own. By divine ordination, does the unmanifest become manifest in and of itself because of the infinite power of the field of divinity and for no other reason. That's all you need to know. What happens is that the mind in 1/10,000th of a second quickly claims that it was the author of the action. If you're strictly, completely, and radically honest, radically, which is beyond the capacity of most people to be honest, much less radically honest. To be radically honest means to somehow be able to beat that 1/10,000th of a second, to completely surrender. That all things happen by divine providence, by the will of God, and for no other reason. The only opponent to that understanding is, of course, the ego. And the ego's job is to claim to be God, and it does it well. Well, the ego is a liar. To understand the liar, then, frees you from its coils. So one thing we do is try to understand the ego in ways that have not really been discovered or described before. The infinite field of power was then registering in the person's consciousness and traveling down through the acupuncture system. And the basic premise of this infinite field is that it instantly recognizes truth. The infinite field of consciousness registers all that ever happens or has happened anywhere in time. Every thought, every feeling, every movement, every action is recorded forever. There's no such thing as privacy. You haven't got any privacy at all, and you never did. Everything radiates out an energy. This could be read thousands of years later. You have access to all the information that exists now or ever within 1 second. It takes that long to discover any secret in the universe. So it's an incredible gift, an incredible gift. Mankind has suffered untold agonies for centuries and centuries for the lack of the knowledge of the difference between truth and falsehood. To not know the difference between truth and falsehood condemns mankind to endless wars, poverty, savageries, sickness, agony, suffering, and death. The affliction, then, is one, has been one, of ignorance. All the great avatars, Buddha, Christ, Krishna, all say there was only one sin, only one problem, and that is ignorance. Ignorance. But man has no way of discerning truth and falsehood except the words of the great spiritual teachers, the great masters. Now we have at hand a gift which to me represents the consequence of the advance of human consciousness over time. So the advance of truth doesn't necessarily bring tranquil waters. In fact, it may disturb things for a period of time. And people who have gotten involved in intense spiritual work, before they get there, they think that's going to be hearts and flowers. We're all going to be singing hymns and dancing around the maypole, having peace marches, peace vigils, and that will bring about peace. No, you find that it's quite the contrary. You find out that you now have a new paradigm, and reflected in this new paradigm is the downside of the old. And so you have a conflict going on. We'll have peace, all right, but it may take a few thousand years. That's all. No point in being impatient. To merely know that all things are happening in and of their own with no external cause. Because the difficulty in a group such as is here today is a group like this is stuck in the Newtonian paradigm of reality. The Newtonian paradigm is that there is a this causing a that. It's dualistic. It's also the very source of thinking that there's a separate individual I, a separate personal I. There is no separate personal I talking here. The field, the presence, because of the audience, speaks back to itself as it speaks, and I don't have anything to do with it. Nothing to do with what is being said. Nothing. That happened many years ago when the personal self, the infinite presence, is so powerful that it really extinguishes anything that is not itself. And the personal self disappeared and the mind became silent. The mind right now is silent. Listen to the mind. It says nothing at all. Neither does yours, but you think it does. And that's the difference. And that's the end of the reading. Thank you again, Cyndi.
Thank you. Thank you, Shawna. I've got chills. And the body is shaking. First thing I want to remind us all is that we've learned in awakening together, or at least the way it lands with me. I'd like to remind us all that every word, other than perhaps the word is fourth principle. Every word is form. Therefore, each individual who believes that they are a personal individual I has a different relationship with each word. I've gone through these particular words and sat and asked for truth quite a few times. Sometimes these words create in me a sense of conflict. There's something within this teaching that contradicts itself within the teaching. And I have discovered that the conditioned mind more than once has wanted to argue and discount the transcript and the teachings because of a few different things that this body-mind personality doesn't agree with or thinks is unimportant. And I recognize each time that that's simply conditioned mind / the imposter self trying to push me out of the experience of truth. I can also share with you, and it's happening now. First, it was in listening to David Hawkins read these words. Initially, something had been triggered before I was listening, and the more I listened to the words, the calmer, whatever that was, got. And then it sort of neutralized after a while. And then sitting and being and contemplating, just being with these words without looking for the words' meaning. And it'd be helpful to know that I am fully immersed in Gentle Healing 3, and where we are in step 1 is being reminded over and over and over again that words are conceptual, and try not to understand the words, but be with what sits underneath the words and use the words to help us get into silence. Working with this particular transcript, the way it's been moving in me has created a fair amount of resistance within this body-mind personality. I'm feeling it now. It's as if I'm talking through a wall. I accept the teachings as they have hit me here in this space. And so I'm super excited and accepting of the discomfort. It's an extraordinary thing. I've learned that the greater the resistance, the greater the transformation. Whether Regina has said it or not, it's the way it's landed. The more willing I am to be still with resistance, the greater the reward. Reward's not the right word, but it's the only word I have at the moment. And so simply being with this transcript and finding an inner disturbance of the extent that I have found, I recognize that something inside of me is changing. And so I'm grateful. There's a chill. And so the other thing I want to say for all the ministers or soon to be ministers in the room, whether you're listening to me live or in the future, for me, leading the gathering isn't about leading a gathering. It isn't about sharing anything with anybody else. In Gentle Healing 3, just this week, someone within our group literally began sharing by saying, I don't have anything to teach anybody else. And I, separate from you, have literally nothing to share or to teach anybody else. I really don't. I used to think I did, but I've now learned that whenever I'm thinking, all I can know for sure is that there is a distortion. So this isn't being with these words, being with this transcript, preparing for a gathering has nothing to do with teaching anybody else. Even though I still see a body, mind, personality that likes to cling to the idea that Cyndi, separate from you, has a purpose. I recognize, and these words are helping me understand, and I'm speaking out loud here, the only purpose of being here, sharing, is to let that go and to merge into knowing that there isn't another and that there is no word that can be shared to that will help another. There is no personal I who has anything to share of use other than I will for lovingly, gently dissolving this attachment, not lovingly getting rid of the body. You know, the body will do what the body will do. Cyndi's going to do what Cyndi's going to do. We're all going to do whatever it is we're going to do. It's the attachment to ownership of the personal sense of an I separate from you. Recently, and it actually is the same beautiful being in the dyads who sang James Taylor to me last week. There was a realization in some contemplation where I was clearly told that either I am God's love or somehow I'm not and need to earn my way back. I need to somehow do or be or create something to earn my way back into God's heart. I wrote it, I read it, I accepted it. And then she said, can we talk about that? Because from where I sit, it feels like there are a lot of other choices. I was so grateful for that conversation because it brought me right back to the 10,000 things, right? Fully accepting that, you know, every teaching that I've been exposed to anyway on this journey has taught me that I've never left God's love, right? Course in Miracles says, I am God's love. I am the light, or whatever. The words aren't here, but essentially, if I'm not the life that created this body, mind, personality, then I'm not life, and I couldn't be moving and be animated. So I must be the extension of the love, the light that created me. If I was cut off from that, I couldn't be. That doesn't mean, because right now there is sensations that one could label pain, resistance, constriction, spasm, all sorts of things going on in this body, mind, personality. And yet there's also this feeling of being embraced by, filled with. The difference in what I shared with my friend was one of foundation, right? It was in Gentle Healing 2 that we were invited to trust, have faith in that it's working, that the mind is healing, that we are the love we seek, and that all is well. So even in this moment right now, when I honestly don't know what the next word is going to be that I speak, the foundation, the trust in the Tao, the trust that all is well, the trust that I must be logically, by definition, the love that created me, as is everything that I see, allows me to breathe between each word, allows me to recognize that it isn't what Cyndi's seeing that is true. I sit here and I see a whole bunch of people that I love. Even as I sit here and I look at either names or faces on this board, memories of past interactions, of past sharing, all comes forth, right? And there is a sense within the body that Cyndi is speaking to others, that Cyndi is either successfully or unsuccessfully sharing a feeling sense. And that there is a sense moving through the Cyndi body, mind, personality that she may or may not be successful. That she may either be received or she may be rejected. That all of those energies to some level are still flowing through a sense of a separate self. And yet, logically, and man, there's an engineering degree in this story, right? So I love that word, logically. Logically, there is an acceptance that that can't be true. It can't be true. The Cyndi story ends. No matter how you look at it, the Cyndi story has a beginning, has ups and downs. She's had more ups and downs just in the last 24 hours in preparing for this moment than I can count. And she'll have an end. At some point, this body ends. The Tao continues. The Tao is. There is no personal I speaking here. And when I look back at what is believed to be the Cyndi story, I can accept there never was. And the resistance being felt here, I can honestly say it's meaningless. That I understand to be true. It's temporary. Doesn't matter how painful it gets. I have no desire to change it. It'll end. The suffering comes from trying to end it before it's time, and somehow what I know to be true is that consciousness is having an experience. And my yearning, my desire right now is for it to have that experience as completely and as fully as it desires, without my believing attention getting in the way. I don't know what that means. I just know it's true. Tuesday, it's fun. You know, Awakening Together, there's a lot of opportunities to set our curriculum. And I allow something inside of me to tell me where to go. Early insights is one of the foundations of my curriculum. I don't know how to put it any other way. And this past Tuesday in Early Insights, we listened to 3 of Regina's early teachings. The part that rocked my world is permission, is this part. It's so interesting. The spiritual ego is dying in me. I don't know how to put it any other way. I'm a bit of a mess isn't the right word. It feels more like a melting. But anyway, what I heard in the teaching on Tuesday was permission to ask, quote unquote, the Holy Spirit for help in navigating my physical world. Permission to let go of separating Cyndi, the individual, from Cyndi, the seeker, Cyndi who's merging, or the Cyndi who's going to end, right? So what I heard Tuesday night was, go ahead and ask Holy Spirit to help you if you're worried about your children, or help you if you don't know how you're paying the rent, or help you, blah, blah, blah. And Tuesday, I had my aging dog here. He has almost no back hips, and he's 60 some odd pounds. And after the teaching, the first thing that happened is I lifted him up and carried him outside, and it was dark and it was quiet, and he's hobbling along like a drunken sailor, falling, and I'm picking it up, and I'm talking to Holy Spirit. And it had been the first time in a while that I called truth Holy Spirit again. But, you know, there's all this emotion flowing through me, and I laid it out on the line and I asked for help. And then Wednesday, it came, I forgot that part of the teaching for a while. Then it came back to me. And there were a series of 3 events all in a row. The first one, I was in a meeting and with a group of people, and somehow everything I heard, the Cyndi body, mind, personality had a judgment about. And there was a sense of getting really angry, and there was a sense of just everything being wrong. And I picked up my pen. I always have a pen in my hand. And I literally just said, "Dear Holy Spirit, help me, please. Help me to be okay with what's going on. Help me to let go of my judgment." I can't even tell you what else I said, but it was personal. It wasn't, I am the spiritual being and I'm not allowed to feel angry. It wasn't that. It was, something is going on here and I need help. Within moments, the anger was gone. I don't even know how to describe it. The anger was gone. The disappointment was gone. I was speaking from a place of neutrality. It kind of rocked my world. And then an hour later, there was a physical fatigue and exhaustion. There was a need to eat and no desire to eat, no wanting to eat. The body just was going nuts. And I did it again. I sat down and I said, "Holy Spirit, I need help. I literally don't know how to be at this point. I don't know how to be human. I can't again tell you exactly what words, but there was an emotional letting go, this, you got to help me do this." And all I could tell you, I don't even know what happened. Within 3 minutes, I had my dance playlist blasting. I was dancing around this apartment and making a full meal. And then a few hours later, my youngest daughter was driving back from Kentucky. It was a 10.5-hour drive. I didn't know what time they left. I didn't know what time they were coming. I was fully distracted. I was entering a dyad that I was hosting, and I literally had to tell my partner, I am not being fully present. I am distracted. I don't know if they're okay. Like literally the mind was pulling, I was physically looking out the window. And we went through the dyad, and it was a writing dyad. And I literally afterwards said, Holy Spirit, help me. I see that the mind is very active in this role of a mother and the worrying mother energy, and I really need help. Help me. I recognize the teaching. I know conceptually that I am not helping my daughter by worrying her about her in this moment. I don't know how to get it to stop. And the two things that happened, literally, I felt the physical release, the physical prayer. So the first thing that happened, which is still giving bodies chills, is the phone rang, and it was my daughter as soon as I released it. But the second thing that happened, which is continually happening, is a physical sense of illness. It's a physical kind of detox. I literally said the prayer, and with every cell of my body, there's nothing that the individual Cyndi self can do for my children that you can't do better as truth. And I want to give you them. I yearn to give you my children. I'll do whatever you would have me do, but this active, continuous thought process that this is who I am, I recognize is part of what holds me apart from you, and I'm done. I'm done. And that's where I am right now. And I'm so grateful for having been able to share it. I believe what's next, Sina, is that we get to play the 3-minute song, because it contains everything that I'm feeling, and my joy and my gratitude for being here and sharing all this with you. So let's play that song. And then if you feel to support Awakening Together financially, there is this beautiful little barcode that you could use your phone to donate, or Son is going to post the link for donation. It's gratefully received if you're feeling within you to donate. And after that, the room will be open for whoever wishes to share into the space. Sign, it's all yours. I love that song. All right, I do believe that this is the time where I get to invite anyone here that wishes to share anything at all to go ahead and raise their hand or unmute or whatever you'd like to do. Joy. Hey, Joy.
Thanks, Cyndi. Hi. I'm out walking my dog, so I'm going to stay off the video. But yeah, beautiful. Love, love, love your homily. And I was just going to give an example. One, actually, when I was reading, I picked up Ramana Maharshi. I was looking at something this morning. And I know for myself, I always, still have that need to rely on divinity. I can recognize when there's not divinity recognition in my mind, but I know I need help. And so what the page that I blindly, quote unquote, open to, Ramana says, and I'm just going to read it here. I can get the page to turn. It says, so long as the I exists, in quotes, it is necessary to accept the Lord also. If anyone wishes to regain easily the supreme state of identity now lost to him, it is only proper that he should accept this conclusion. And then he goes on to the question, what is the mark of the ego? The individual soul of the form of I is the ego. And we all know this. But I had a moment this week, and I don't even remember at all what the details were, but I said no to the resistance in my mind. And then I felt, like, you ever felt like immediately like, oh my gosh, that something just hit me, I'm going to get sick. And I said no to that. And it was just like, no, I'm saying no to this false sense of self and this subconscious resistance that wants to now show up in a form of sickness as avoidance, rather than, the yes that I just said to love. So I just wanted to share that, because this power of the mind that we have, or this power that we have over the mind, really. And we do have a very strong power to say no to the resistance, but also very gently. I find it very effective in my path. So thank you.
Thank you, Joy. It's beautiful. Who else would like to share? If not, Mary, I see your hands, my friends.
Hi, Cyndi. It's been a while. Thank you so much. As always, whenever you speak, it speaks to my heart. And I didn't even know what I'm going to say when I raised my hand, but I, one, wanted to say thank you. And two, you said you were speaking for yourself. You didn't come to teach anything, but the message was so pertinent to me. And I'll tell you why. I was invited to join a book club on nonfiction. Has to be spirituality or something for self-improvement. And it's a new book club, new group, started a few months ago. And today I'm facilitating right after this service. We meet on Sunday mornings, and I'm experiencing some anxiety about what I'm going to say to this group, how I'm going to lead, what questions I'm going to ask. And you just reminded me, I just need to turn it over to Holy Spirit, to inner guide. And I know that, and I do that so often. And I don't know why haven't done that with this, but I've been anxiously reviewing the book and reading it, rereading chapters and looking for question guides, all weekend. And almost didn't come this morning because I thought, I have to really make sure I'm ready for this group. And I don't know if I'm ready or not, but it will happen, and it will be beautiful, and it will be what it is meant to be. So thank you, Cyndi. I love you.
I love us. I love us so very much. Is there anyone else that would like to share while the recording's still on? If not, there is another song. What do you think, Sina? Shall we play the Bellamy Brothers? There we go. The only other word I have is thank you. So yours, Sina.
Been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.